the Titan scene, the Battle of Titan scene in Avengers: Infinity War, because I got a chance. I worked on that scene, and I only worked on Infinity War for about 2 months, and I was on the second unit. Okay, so the second unit of that film. That film had like 4.
Like wine, Oliver, lemon Moscato, dude, best wine, refreshing, lemon taste, light.
Nice.
Okay, I have something from
the
Kroger brand.
Oh yeah,
purified drinking water.
Wow.
Okay.
Where's it bottled at?
It's bottled at the source, which I think the source is Kroger. So
nice.
if it's purified water, they're bragging about bottled at the source. It's like, okay,
what is the source?
What is the source? Like your local tap.
So where's the source at? I think me and Adam talked about this recently, but I was watching the Netflix documentary, the one Zac Efron has, and he like travels all over the world. And one of the episodes, I think he was in France, and they're explaining, like, they met a water connoisseur, and I was like, that's awesome. I want to be one of those. But he was talking about like purified water is like not good, I guess, because it's stripping all the minerals out, so the minerals we need. So it's better to drink like spring water and stuff like that. So
and wine,
little fun, and wine. Yeah, wine will hydrate you.
Yeah. So where are you guys located? Where are you at right now? Like what states?
Adam, you wanna? Or
I'm in Ohio. I'm in Ohio right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just working out here. I'm by Colombo.
Yeah,
Columbus.
The city of sin, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Nice.
So out all the way over here on the west. What about you, Nate?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Ooh, nice.
Georgia.
Yeah. How's
City of the beaches.
How's the weather out there right now?
It's as you'd expect. It's very hot and sticky.
Hot and sticky, yep.
It'll get more so. That's just how Georgia rolls. It's hot and sticky, and then it gets freezing.
Oof. Yeah, I think everywhere is going through like a weird bipolar weather thing right now, because it had just started heating up out here, but it's still pretty windy. That those windstorms are kicking our butts right now.
Hell yeah. Yeah, here it's raining hard. Like, it's been amazing, right? It was super hot, and then suddenly it snowed, and now we're just rain, depression, and
cloudy.
That sounds like Ohio all the time.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I mean, this place sucks.
I mean,
delete Ohio, please.
The only thing you guys got going for you is the Cubs.
The Cubs.
The Cubs.
Yeah, not even the Cavs anymore.
Definitely not the Bears.
Not the Bears. Oh, Bears.
Bears.
Oh man. But what's going on in Atlanta right now? What brings you out there, or do you live out there?
That's where I live. So I originally from Denver, Colorado. Yeah. We moved out here about 6 years ago. The goal was to work on big movies. So to work on big movies, you got to be where the big movies are. So
in Georgia,
we're pretty much, we are number one for big movies right now.
Wow.
And it's been that way for the last couple of years. We've been stealing the title from Los Angeles because it's expensive to shoot in Los Angeles. A lot of what has driven that is Georgia created a tax incentive that gives a lot of money back to these big productions, that where, if you have a production that's spending $100 million, $200 million, $500 million, whatever it is, and you're offered a tax break on that money that you spend, you're going to go where you get that tax break, because that's money in the pocket of these producers and these production companies. So Georgia set that up, and they set it up in a very smart way to where they made it sustainable for the government to do it. So basically it didn't really cost the government a bunch of money, the local Georgia government, that is, but while still providing a really killer incentive to these production companies. So it just fueled this huge production boom, both movies and TV shows, and not all huge movies, but obviously they try to take advantage of it as well. But you have some smaller movies and smaller TV shows, and just a huge network of productions. I don't know what the number is right now, but it's just a ton going on. Like, you'll drive around the city, and we have these little yellow signs. Like, location department will put up these yellow signs with a code. It'll be like there was one recently that had an acronym for the title, and you'll see it, and that's where they're shooting for the day. That's where like crew parking is and stuff. And so you'll drive around the city and you'll see all these yellow signs for these various productions, and you're like, oh, look, there's another show over there, there's a movie over there, there's a TV show over there. Like, sometimes we'll be right across the street from each other. It's wild. It is booming.
Dang.
Yeah, I would say I feel like there's a lot that gets shot out there. I know. I think The Walking Dead mainly shot out in Atlanta or in Georgia, and I think someone was telling me Falcon and the Winter Soldier was filmed out there as well. It was supposed to be in like Baltimore, but I guess enough of the scenery gave that Baltimore look that they could pass for there. So that's interesting to hear, actually.
When I worked on a couple episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier, just last year, and it's out, so I can talk a little bit about it. But I do know that they went overseas, and I think they went to they went somewhere in Spain. I can't remember where it was, but they might have gone a couple different places, because when we were filming some of the second, I was on second unit primarily. I don't think I was ever on first unit. We're at a show. Okay, I'll explain that for a second. So
Yeah, tell us, please.
Big movies and TV shows will run multiple units. So basically, when you have we'll use Falcon Winter Soldier for example, right? So they'll have 2 units going, and they may not be going full time, but you're always going to have your first unit, which is a full film company of people, and that could be, again, I don't know the exact numbers, but say it's 300 people crew wise, okay, on the shooting crew. And that first unit's job is to film all of the dialogue stuff with the actors. And so a lot of times, because it takes a really long time to shoot these scenes, if you have a scene where, okay, let me backtrack here a bit. Okay. For instance, I'm going to talk about the Titan scene, the Battle of Titan scene in Avengers Infinity War, because I got a chance. I worked on that scene. I only worked on Infinity War for about 2 months. And I was on the second unit. Okay, so the second unit of that film. That film had like 4 units that were off and on. Wow. But there was a full-time first unit and a full-time second unit, all the same size production, and just huge crews for that, right? But that movie, between Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, was about $500 million, $500 million to make those 2 movies. Just hugely expensive, right? But anyway, so on that Titan moon fight, which was about that scene, which isn't that long in the movie, you'd have to go back and kind of time it, but you have, they all show up, they fight Thanos or whatever. It's maybe 10 minutes, right? 15 maybe. I don't know exactly, but it's not that long. So your first unit is gonna film all this stuff of like the actors talking to each other, right? Iron Man taking off his helmet and talking to Thanos or talking to Spider-Man, right? And then your second unit, where they take over, they're going to come onto the same set, and they're going to film all the stuff with the stunt doubles fighting. So second unit is super awesome because you get to do all the explosions, all the fighting, all the really cool stuff that makes the trailer and makes the movie awesome. And you don't usually have the actors, so we don't see Robert Downey Jr. or Tom Holland, right? Sometimes you will, but when we were doing that, we didn't have any of those guys. They were all busy doing other dialogue scenes with first unit, right? So we were just filming the fight scenes, and that scene it was over a month just to do the fight stuff. Now, first unit will do some of that as well, but they're only really focusing on stuff that they need. Like if they need Iron Man, if they actually need Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man to throw that punch in a scene, they'll do that. But as soon as it gets into the rest of the acting stuff, or rest of the hardcore stunt stuff, it switches back over to second unit, and our job is to match what first unit is doing but to take over with all the stunt doubles.
Okay.
Wow.
That's
So-
pretty interesting, actually.
These movies are so much detail, it seems. Like, that's insane that like 300 people per unit. Like, how many people are in your unit on unit 2?
So on unit 2, it's pretty much the same size, and it's a lot of people because you also have, and again, like it's, I don't know the specifics, but like you always get a call sheet every day. And actually on Marvel shows and movies, they're super secretive. Like you're not really allowed to get a call sheet, but sometimes you'll see it because 80s will carry it where you look at it and you'll just have like all of these names for each department, and just you'll have 10 guys in the grip department and 12 guys in the electric department or whatever it is, and you have 15 departments. So it's just all compounded on each other. And then you have a full rigging department, which on a rigging department, they're going to come in before and after first and second units shoot, and they're going to rig up all the lights in the stages, and they're going to come in, and you're going to have set decorators that are like on a rigging set decorators will come in and preset all the set before things happen. You have whole construction crews that are building stuff, and by the time you break it all down, not even in the post-production sides, not even in the editing side or the special or the visual effects side, right? Before you even get to that, you've probably already had on a movie like that a couple thousand people working on the project.
Jeez.
Like, it's just, I mean, you look at the credit list, and Marvel does a really nice job of really giving a lot of credit and really making sure people get their credit or full-timers on the project. It's super long. I mean, if you watch the credit list for Infinity War, it goes on forever. Like, it's a crazy amount of names, and that's not even including, like, I don't even have a credit at the end of that movie because I wasn't a full timer on it.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a bunch of guys like myself that were day players, right? Just coming on, and even maybe they day played for, like myself, maybe they day played for like 2 months. But they still weren't necessarily a full-timer throughout that whole 6 months or a year of shooting, whatever it was. So they didn't get a credit. There was probably a couple hundred more people that were in and out of that project that aren't even credited. So just the amount of people that it takes to make a movie like that is crazy.
So
Right,
what's a day player? Like, are you like just like a fill-in? Like, someone takes a break, someone goes on vacation,
That's a
someone
good
gets
question.
sick?
Yeah, so you have they usually break it down by like company and then day players, or additionals is what they'll sometimes call them. And so if usually on a movie, just any film, you're gonna have, depending on the department, you'll have a key for that department, and then you'll have like I'll break it down. We'll say the grip department, okay? Because that's what I was doing on some of these projects. You have your key grip, you have your best boy grip, who's in charge of hiring people and hiring and figuring out what equipment they need for the project, right, for their department. You'll have a couple dolly grips, which are basically your camera support grips, and then you'll have your company grips. So 4 to 6 of those guys, let's say. And all of those positions are full-time positions, so they're expected to do every day on the project unless they need a day off and someone's got to fill in or something for them that day. Then depending on where we're shooting, so say, they go out and they need to go outside and shoot some forest stuff or something, right? If that's going to be a hard day, they will request a certain amount of day players or a certain amount of additional grips, and maybe bump that number up. Maybe they'll say 4 or 5 additional guys, and then they'll hire a day player to come in and fill that additional slot for the day and be that extra hand. So or maybe they have a whole week at a location, so they'll book someone for that whole week to come in. They're not necessarily doing the whole movie, but they're coming in and helping out on those days that are a little harder, that require some extra manpower.
Okay.
Interesting. I'll say, yeah, already getting in the juicy stuff, Avengers and stuff. Those are huge budget films. But a question I have for you, how did you get started? Like what, things led up to where you are now, if you don't mind. Explain,
Sure.
Like when it you're like, this is what I want,
Well, so it really goes back for me. probably as a kid, and I can't remember kind of what age it was, but my dad for we could probably figure it out by what I'm about to say, but my dad for Christmas had gotten me a VHS box set of the original Star Wars films.
Ooh, nice. I still have mine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Old one,
that's
yeah.
awesome. They're probably actually worth more in that state than because like this is like the before Lucas added, CG
Right.
stuff to the. I don't even think you can find a version of these anymore. So if you have one on a VHS, it's probably like a precious commodity at this point.
Yeah, I was like, let me hold on to these.
Yeah, that's a good move. But that specific box set had like interviews with George Lucas before it, where he talks about like the making of it and it goes into some of the details of making the movie. And because it was VHS, you had to either watch all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or fast forward through it to start the movie. And a lot of times I would watch it. And I think that was kind of what first really got me interested in thinking about like how movies were made and how, because you're hearing about like this cool stuff about stories, some of the stuff that they were doing to make it happen. And that kind of piqued my initial interest. And then fast forward to, another super nerdy movie set, Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yep.
Now this time upgrading to DVD, had all the special features of again like how they made stuff, and I'm watching like the behind the scenes of these guys like making chainmail by hand and being like, whoa, that's wild that they would do that. And again, just kind of really sparked my interest in the whole thing. So I started running around like in like junior high and high school, running around with my friends with a crappy camera and making really dumb, stupid little movies that we'd edit like tape to tape on a VHS, and then we started editing in the computer a little bit, and they were just terrible, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And I ended up finding that there was a film school in our state in Colorado. So I went to the Colorado Film School in college, and that was partnered with a local university there. And really kind of started learning to do it at a real kind of level. And then, but he's like that. It's not like that really. That was kind of more of like a connection thing and getting some really basic skills and basic network and we were forced, by going through that program, we were forced to make a lot of short films at a much higher quality and really try to make, something that was watchable, unlike high school projects. And just kind of from there, I just kind of kept learning and kept growing. And initially when I went to the film school, I went in as an editor. And I thought, yeah, it'd be really cool, be the editor and really make this stuff together. And I learned pretty quickly that there's kind of two things that happened. One, I learned that editing can be pretty boring, sitting at a computer all day, every day. And two, I'm pretty extroverted, so I was super bored by just like, I wanted to be on set. So that was kind of like the first thing that happened. And the second thing that happened was I had an instructor tell me that I was a lousy editor.
Shut those dreams down.
He's like, you're not a great editor, but you're actually really good with camera and your shot's really good. You have a good eye for that. You should really, he's like, I encourage you to like train that side, not to necessarily give up on editing. If you really feel like you should do that, then continue that by all means. But he's like, he kind of saw like a natural talent in me on the camera side, and he encouraged me to pursue that, which led me to being on set more and led me to learning lighting more and learning gripping more and all those sorts of things that kind of support the visual aspect of that end. And so that was what I ended up pursuing. And so I started really, even within college, I tried to find as many jobs as I could, shoot as many short films as I could, or a random like, super low budget kind of commercial thing, and then I made a big goal of myself to try to work on whatever project I could find that would come to town. So I worked a lot as like a production assistant on some reality stuff like American Idol and X Factor. Those were kind of some big stuff that would come in and make some more network and just network, and say, hey, I'm available for, if you need a guy. And just over time, I would get better positions and find some better jobs and just kind of keep growing in the trade, I guess.
Definitely, that's pretty cool. Because I've always been kind of growing up with, like, I don't know, just watching movies and stuff. Like, I got more into the acting side. Like, man, I would love to be an actor and movies. So I just recently started kind of getting more interested into the film side, so behind the camera. So it was interesting to hear that and, learn as I'm, continuing this journey as well. So that was pretty cool to hear. But that's funny, like you said, like, I think we all have those stories as kids, running around filming stuff. Like, I had this one friend, and it's funny to think about, like, I was like, man, if only we were doing it at this time, it'd be better. But me and him would just make random videos all the time. We put them on YouTube. I'm sure they're still up there. I think we even have like a Make It Rain music video we made. I'm just like, oh God. So waiting for that to surface back up on the internet.
Well, it's funny too, because this was really before YouTube. that we're like, it's I don't feel that old. But anytime I start thinking about stuff like, oh yeah, I remember when we were throwing AOL internet discs at each other. You just get them from the store for free, and then they became like war frisbees.
Yeah, I still got the AOL email. Let's go.
Do you really?
Dude.
It's like you and every senior citizen.
Exactly, bro. Throwback. It's a good girl picking up technique, because if they have an AOL, we're matches.
So, does that work often, or?
Yes.
Like, it's very rare.
Yeah. To be honest, everyone's a Gmail whore.
He's like sexybulge69 at AOL.com.
Yeah, let's go.
So, AOL, huh? I know it's funny when I'd work in retail and you'd ask people for their emails to like sign up for whatever promotions, and they're like, "Oh, at AOL." I was like, "Ooh, all right, at AOL." They'll crack like a little joke. Yeah.
So Nate, where'd you grow up at? Like in Denver, or Colorado? Because I was living in Denver for like 3 years.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
I was in. So I grew up in Highlands Ranch.
Oh, hell yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
So
I love Highlands Ranch.
Littleton Highlands Ranch area. They call Highlands Ranch the bubble. It's like it was basically like a whole bunch of people from California that moved there and started their own community.
Exactly, yeah.
They're like, we don't want to pay for California stuff anymore, but we want to be somewhere nice. So they, built a city with concrete roads, and it's like attempt to be bougie.
Yeah, it's like Summerlin in Vegas.
In Vegas, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a nice area.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area, and that was the first area I went to. Was a good old Highlands Ranch.
Well, and it's crazy how built up it is now. Like, I go back there and I hardly recognize some of the areas, because they're like, wow, that hospital wasn't there, and that whole shopping area wasn't there. Because remember, as a kid when we moved in there and growing up, like, there really wasn't much there. They just kind of were just starting to grow the community, and now, I mean, and just kind of all of Colorado in general is just crazy.
Oh yeah, it's gnarly. Crazy. Yeah, because I was living in downtown Colorado or downtown Denver, and just expansion, new buildings. And even Boulder, too. Just getting crazy big. And the people coming. So many people, so many homeless.
Yeah. Yeah, they keep trying to get rid of... Elitch Gardens keeps threatening to leave Denver and sell the land. And if you grew up in downtown Denver, I'm sure you went there. But that's like part of like the skyline. If that place goes away... It was a Six Flags for a while, and then... Six Flags was like, you don't make enough money, so
yeah. Elitches, let's go. Yeah, I actually didn't grow up in Colorado. I just lived out there for like 3 years. I grew up in Vegas with Kentrell.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, we were making videos in high school, just like you and your homie.
Yeah.
we tried to make a music video, I think, and we were laughing way too much. This isn't working. We just couldn't do it. But that's right. Yeah, Colorado's a beautiful place. I love the scenery. It's always a breath of fresh air. There we go. When you're coming out of Vegas, so get to see some trees and stuff like that. We have a little bit of that out here, but not too much. But I've been to Denver. I've been to Golden, I think that's what it's called. Golden, Colorado. I think it's like a little outside of Denver. But definitely some fun places to be. So.
Well, it was a cool place to grow up too, because you could go hiking or go up to the mountains. Or I played a bunch of disc golf, so like disc golf courses everywhere. Of course you got the snow, which is fun as a kid, and I never really got too much into skiing or snowboarding, but that was it's just like there's just so much to do, and that's kind of one thing I miss out here in Georgia. Like, there's just not nearly the same amount of things to do. Like, I don't know what people do for fun out here in Georgia.
Dude, that's how I feel about Ohio, dude. It's like, what do you do except go to your local bar and get drunk with the drunks and then fuck the whole town and go home? Like, what else? What is anyone doing except being sad?
That's so sad.
Yes, it's sad.
Well, and also Chicago, like, I learned the hard way that Chicago has 2 major airports because I booked a flight to the wrong one time for a convention that I was going to out there. And I was like, when I was landing, I'm like, this doesn't feel right at all. Like, where am I? Like, I meant to go to Chicago O'Hare, and I think I've landed in, like, whatever the other one is.
The country, probably.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the country. Yeah.
It's out there. I'm like, wow, this is going to be a really expensive Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I know all about expensive Ubers.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck.
I'll say that's funny you mentioned disc golf. I actually just some buddies of mine they got into disc golf, so I played a few times with them. So now I'm kind of into it as well. Is there a disc golf scene in Georgia, or at least where you're at? Has you seen? Or?
There is. There's a course by me, and it's kind of a bummer. Like when one of the downsides, like I moved out here to work, and I started working. I was able to find some cool projects right away and start working pretty regularly, and then I was playing disc golf for a while and then I just got too busy and I just like stopped playing, and I stopped doing a lot of the stuff that I enjoyed because I just was working all the time. And then when I wasn't working, I was tired.
Right.
And so, like, right at the peak of my disc golf abilities, when I could have just soared to that next level, not really. I stopped playing. I haven't really played much in the last couple of years, but there's a course by me. I have a basket in my backyard, so every now and then I'm gonna throw at that a little bit. But there's actually some really nice courses out here. It was fun in Colorado. We used to have these cool tournaments where it was like open to anybody, so professionals would come and show up and play because there's a lot of random quote pro disc golfers in Colorado.
Like, what's up, dude? Got the
right, exactly.
Or what?
But here's the thing, right? You go and play with these guys because they'd have these open tournaments. So anyone could show up, and it was all like a charity event for the Food Bank of the Rockies.
Okay.
And which was cool because everyone buys in for $5 or $10, whatever it was, and then all of that money was a donation to help feed the homeless out there. And so you get these quote big name players and just average guys showing up, and they pair you randomly with people on a team. And so every now and then you get like you play and at first you start going to these things, you're like, okay, well, there's not that big of a difference between just somebody playing and like a pro player, but you learn pretty fast like where you stack up against these. You're like, wow, like that was incredible, man. Like that is I can't do that.
Like what like stands out, like how fast, or just how they make it right always?
So we had, I'll tell you, you can kind of get an idea based off of this quick example, right? So I remember there's this one course that we played. I believe it was in Bailey, Colorado, so up in the mountains. Really beautiful private land that this person put a course on, and it was open only to events like this. And I was paired with this this younger kid named Eagle, who's actually still a pro disc golfer now.
That's a disc golf name for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember we had this one hole. They call them holes, like in golf, but where we're like up on one side of the mountain, and then it goes down into this ravine, and, trees and this whole ravine, and then up, and then the basket's like on the other mountain. I mean, it's literally probably, it wasn't like at the top of the mountain, it's kind of at the bottom of the mountain. So it was like down this mountain and then in the ravine. I mean, it must have been, like 5 football fields or more. Like it was an insane distance. You could barely see the basket, right? And I go, and I'm somewhere in the trees on the left side, like not even halfway down this hill, right? I'm like, cool, all right, this is gonna take forever.
Yeah.
And then Eagle goes, who is, thankfully my teammate, and he just bombs this disc. Like he does this crazy wind up and just expertly precisioned, and the disc lands at the foot of the basket, like
Oh wow.
a foot away from the thing, like
What?
practically hole in one, right? He can go up and tap it in at this point. And I just remember watching this, and you have like unforgettable moments in your life. That was a very like unforgettable moment for me, because I'm like, holy cow, that was like one of the most beautifully executed things I've seen.
Dang.
Like, if you gave him 5 more shots of this thing, it would have been a dude perfect video.
Right.
It was incredible. And no, so it was. I miss those, because those are some fun Saturday mornings.
Yeah, it's very chill and fun. I think the few times I went, the craziest thing I've seen, the guy, he threw it underhand, which was pretty interesting to see. So instead of wrists like this, it was under from the side, and it wasn't like a huge distance like that, but it was a pretty good distance, and it went the way he threw it. It like curved, went perfectly in between these trees, and hole in one. And I was like, and he was like, yeah, I don't really disc golf. And I was like,
Wait,
I would
what?
beg to differ after seeing that. Yeah.
That's
Obviously,
some magic.
You've done this more than once.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that was beautiful. I don't know.
He's like, I looked it up on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It's up to you too. Oh man, yeah, it's a fun like little community. At least the people that I've seen, a lot of people are helpful. So it's a fun little hobby to get into.
Well, most of them are high, so that.
Oh yeah, bunch of stoners. Yeah, for real.
College years. Let's go.
Hair like down their backs, like it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man.
There's definitely a type, particularly in Colorado.
I can tell like that guy plays disc golf for sure. Oh man.
That was probably when I first moved out to Georgia from Colorado, because again, this was like Colorado had only been legalized marijuana wise for like maybe a year and a half. So when I moved to Georgia, that was the first question I got. People were like, "Hey, you're from Colorado. Did you bring anything with you?" Like no, dude. I don't
What?
just travel with like.
You got
come
some
on.
weed on you?
Yeah,
Like
right.
a pound or something?
So I'm gonna get straight to the point, man. You got anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Bro,
Like,
I can smell it on your skin.
I would have made a lot more friends had I did bring some.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
And money.
And
Think about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Wait,
Yeah. Oh my bad. You go for it,
I was
Adam.
just gonna say, bro. So you were talking about? Like, I was reading on your profile that you are like experienced like scuba diver, and I thought
Yeah.
that was really fucking interesting because I've never met a scuba diver guy, and explain that, I guess.
Yeah. So
Tell
that-
us.
So that kind of came out of. So yeah, I'm a PADI dive master, and a scuba dive control specialist for SSI. So those are basically 2 different scuba industries, if you will. They all kind of do the same thing, but they're the industry. They're the organizations that would certify you to be a diver. And basically, what that breaks down to is I basically an assistant instructor level.
Okay.
And that kind of came about because initially I was scared of water. I wasn't the best swimmer, and really wasn't that great in the water.
And you swim like a fish.
And my wife is over here. She says, "Now you swim like a fish."
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. Which is not exactly true, but I am at least a lot better. For me, it went back to filmmaking again because it's like I have just such a passion for filming and creating and storytelling in that industry, and I would always kind of see like I love my other kind of random love is I love the ocean. I love marine animals, and it sounds really super lame, but like I think whales are like the coolest thing ever, and just all kinds of like fish and aquatic life. And my favorite superhero is Aquaman, so there's that. So I was like, I was like, I like the ocean so much, and I think it's so cool, but I'm like scared of water. That's really lame. I was like really hard on myself. I'm like, I gotta get over this. So, and I saw underwater filmmaking, underwater camera work as like the pinnacle of awesome in what you could do as a camera operator, and as a photographer. So I'm like, you know what? I just had this. I'd been thinking about it for a while, and I called a local dive shop in Colorado, actually Denver Divers, which is in downtown Denver. And I called them up and I said, hey, how much, what is the process of getting Scuba certified? How much does it cost? Blah, blah, blah. And I got all the info about it. And I signed up for a class. And in order to get certified as a scuba diver, you have to first go through a classroom setting that's like a day of classroom or day and a half of classroom, and then you have about a day and a day and a half of pool practice. So I did the classroom stuff and learned all that. Learned about how it could be super dangerous, and if you don't follow some basic rules, you can really hurt yourself or even kill yourself. And you're like, wow, that's really scary. Okay, cool. And then they jumped in for the pool stuff, and the first time I put the regulator in and got underwater, I'm like, this is insanity. This, like, who does this? This is the dumbest thing in the world. Like this, I was like freaked out by it. And but I kind of forced myself through it and went out. And after that whole classroom and pool time, you have to go do a weekend in what they call open water, meaning diving in open water, not a pool, so a lake or ocean or wherever. So I actually went out and I flew to California because I have a lot of family. My grandparents are out there, so I stayed with my grandparents and went out and did my open water dive portion of that at Dana Point in California, and which is really cool. It's like a seaweed kelp forest, and did my open water dives there. I was super scared, but I got through it, and then just kind of kept with it. I'm like, this isn't so bad. It's actually really, really cool. I was really enjoying it. So there were some other instructors at that same dive shop at Denver Divers, and one of them was named Wendell, and who became a good friend of mine and a strong instructor. And he just like stayed on me. He's like, I'm gonna make you a really good diver, and I'm just gonna we're gonna do these other classes, and these are the classes I want you to take, and I'm gonna beat you up, and I'm gonna make you a good diver. And he really did, and I really it was hard, and I worked really hard at it, but I got to a level where I was really confident in my skills. I was really confident in water and really overcame those fears. So, I'm always talking to people now, like, if people are scared of water, I'm like, just build it. It takes some time, and it took me, it was a few years of pretty regular and sometimes intense training to get to that point of confidence. And then once you have that point of confidence, then you're able to really kind of expand on that. So that was that's kind of how it started. Was really just at that ground level of just overcoming those fears and working towards gaining confidence.
Okay. That's actually really cool, actually. Yeah. Since then, have you been able to do any like underwater camera work since getting your license and thing like that?
Yeah, so it started, it was kind of fun because it originally started just very simply as, of course, the dive shop knew what I did for a living and knew that I did camera work and I did TV and film production work. And so they're like, hey, can you maybe help us with some videos? And so I was like, sure. And so I started I started initially just kind of diving with a GoPro, like a 4K GoPro, and just getting some videos on some of the dives we go on, or with some of the other students, and filming them and making some little stuff for the dive shop. And then I started getting a little more creative with it and doing some more creative projects. And I got an opportunity to do the underwater DP work for an indie feature called Collider on Amazon, just a small little indie feature made in Denver. And I got to do their scenes of this girl. Basically, she's a time traveler, or she ends up time traveling by falling into the water. And when she falls into the water, her watch reacts in a special way, and it sends her back in time. So I was in charge of doing the scene of her going through that underwater experience. And again, I built some basic production experience there. Utilizing other crew members, the other underwater crew members were other guys and gals I knew from the dive shop. Like, hey, I need a safety diver. I need a person doing lighting. I need and so we're like all underwater with these cameras and with lights and doing this stuff. And we did at that dive shop, we did a really cool underwater band photo for this local Boulder band called Nonstop, and they wanted a picture underwater, so we sunk a drum set. I had to put it on this pallet and sunk a drum set.
It's pretty
and
cool.
The guy had to swim down from the surface and then sit on the chair and act like it was super funny because he'd float up, as he's doing it. So he had to try to take the picture as he's floating up.
Quick, get the shot.
Did we get it yet?
And these guys, I was amazed. They went down with an actual guitar. They went down with an actual trumpet.
Wow.
I'm like, you guys aren't worried about your... They're like, oh, we'll rinse it off. It'll be fine. I'm like, wow, okay.
Oh, yeah. Just rinse it off.
It was wild. But that was super cool. And then when I moved out here to Georgia, that was always the thing that I'd tell people, my shtick, if you will. I pitched them hey, if you ever need an underwater guy, let me know, because I'm a dive master. And people would remember it because it's kind of a weird thing, which was cool. And I made a big point. I'm like, yeah, save me. Remember me as a diver. And I just, because I'm like, I don't know what's going to come of this, but I would love to do underwater stuff. And I ended up booking, ever since I do a couple underwater jobs a year now.
Nice.
It's nothing that really, in Georgia, it's nothing that you could really do full time, because there's just, particularly with these productions, it's super expensive to do water stuff. And then there's just not that many scenes that are written for it. But when it comes up, usually I get, like I said, a couple calls a year.
Ooh, that's actually really cool. How is it versus, filming on land and in water? Pretty much the same. You just kind of carry over everything from there, or?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. Everything takes a lot longer versus doing it on land and doing it underwater. And it's also, particularly if we're doing it in a tank, you usually don't have a ton of space,
right?
So even as big as this tank, usually we're in a 16-foot deep tank by maybe 50-foot diameter kind of thing. So it's fairly large, but not huge. And you'll have kind of a small team of divers. You usually have an underwater camera guy. You'll have, if there's stunt people or actors in the water, you'll have some safety divers that are there to support the actors in this or the stunt people. And then you'll have a couple, at least one, or hopefully more than one, lighting and support persons in the divers in the tank. There's been some projects where, unfortunately, I'm the only one, and I have to do all the lighting and camera support for the underwater camera operator, and really just kind of be that go-to to help them out. And we always try to push to have more people, because it's pretty tough. It's honestly really tiring, because you have a lot of up and down in the water, carrying stuff down to the bottom and bringing it back up, and just going down for a take and coming back up. And that's really in the diving world, they call it bounce diving, which is actually really dangerous because within that first 30 feet of water, you have the biggest pressure change on your body. And like if you go to the bottom of a pool, right, your ears are going to get all plugged and you have to like clear your ears. And that pressure on you up and down all day, you have to be super careful to always be like clearing your ears and equalizing that pressure and not hurting yourself. Because I've had days where I'll come up too fast or I won't equalize or something, and I'll have you have a lot of pain, and then you're out. You have to stay out of the tank for the rest of the day or a couple of days or something, and so you really have to be super careful when you're doing that. Yeah. So there's a lot more risk involved. I mean, when I'm not in water, I don't have to worry about ear pressure.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe when you just go up like the mountains and stuff, but
right. And
that kind of pressure, yeah.
It's also kind of wild too. So on the bigger projects, when we have, you always have a hydrophone in the water. So because communication is obviously a thing when we're working on set, you can have a director calling direction or talking people through the shots or whatever. But when you're underwater, to communicate to that crew that's in the water or even your actors in the water, it's a little more difficult. So they'll sync what's called a hydrophone in the water, and they'll have a microphone up top, and they'll communicate it to us through that speaker. And what's really wild about that is underwater, sound travels 3 times faster than it does through air. So the way our body is able to figure out where the sound is coming from, like if you hear somebody make noise on your left side, it's because that sound from whatever's making that noise hits your left ear before it hits the right ear. So your body naturally knows, hey, that sound's coming from the left. But underwater, because the sound is traveling 3 times faster, it hits both your ears at the same time. So your brain can't differentiate what direction the sound is coming from. And it can be super disorienting. And it's very much like this. When you hear somebody on the speaker in water, it's this really like ominous, like God voice that's just inside of you kind of feeling. Like,
Nate,
just echoing.
do the shot now.
Do better.
Do better. Faster.
Get out of the frame.
Yeah. We can see your hands.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's very interesting. I didn't know that, but that's cool. Something you were able to conquer and use into your work. So who knows? Maybe you might work on the next Aquaman or something like that. Get that chance. Your favorite superhero.
I would love to do that.
Ether.
I joke around that I'll do the reboot of it in 10 years. Who knows? Yeah. When it's not Jason Momoa anymore, it'll be somebody else.
Someone else, yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, I think it's an interesting choice, him, Jason Momoa. But yeah,
he sucks as an actor. Just saying, I'm saying it.
Yeah, but everybody loves him because he's just such a man.
He's a man. He's the man.
But is he though? Well,
there's some guys. I know a few guys out here that have worked with him personally. They say he's awesome. Like he'll hang out with the crew and.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a chill guy, but I don't like his acting.
Cool guy.
Well, I mean, he plays I'm super cool.
Yeah, so you got them dollar bills or what?
I think he does. I think he does what he does well, like his characters. I'll give him his credit. He's not bad.
You're a sucker for the.
He's an action star. Yeah.
That movie, by the way, was not shot underwater.
Right. Yeah. I would say those scenes, unfortunately.
So we actually were talking about that. So it's funny because the whole movie world is pretty small. There's a ton of people and just a ton of crew members out there that do it, but for the most part, still as a whole community, it's not that big. So sometimes you have to be careful what you say. And there was one instance where myself on the movie Jungle Cruise, which is coming out next year. I can't talk a ton about it because it hasn't come out yet, but
that's with the Rock, right?
Yeah, with the Rock.
Okay.
and was it? I think is it Emily Blunt? It's gonna be awesome. We did a bunch of underwater stuff on that, and the underwater cinematographer for that named Peter Zuccherini, really awesome, very talented guy that I've gotten to work with multiple times and learn a lot from. He's an awesome teacher. Like anytime we're working, he'll just randomly throw out like really just awesome tidbits, and he's like a personal hero of mine. So every time he starts like teaching me stuff, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Tell me more.
Hell yeah.
Please more.
And he has a super awesome background of just like growing up in Florida and starting in like really small documentaries. And now he's like one of the top underwater guys in the world. And they, if he's not the first phone call, he's, definitely the second kind of guy. And anyways, we were kind of trash talking the Aquaman movie a little bit as far as the underwater effects were concerned. We're like, yeah, it's not even shot underwater, and like the way the hair moves is like totally unrealistic to how it really would be. And we were talking about this with one of the visual effects guys that was working on that movie, and we kind of stopped.
No.
He goes, yeah, it wasn't my best work. I really tried.
Oh God.
He's like, I kind of can't relate. And we're like, oh no.
Oh fuck.
We both felt really bad, because we're
not my best work, guys.
literally trashing this guy's work, right?
To his face.
Unknowingly.
Oh,
And
man.
he just like took it like a champ and was really like nice about it, and it was pretty funny. I've had a couple accidental moments like that. I'm like, oh,
You just shit on a movie in front of the director. He's like,
yeah,
fuck it. One star.
That cracks me up that he was just like, not my best work. I'm like, oh, that would make it worse. That would hit me where I'm like, I'm so sorry.
He was like brought in to fix an issue, so he was doing the best he could with what he was given, right?
So he was like the second pick too.
Well, he may have been the main pick. It was just he wasn't able to be involved from the beginning, sort of deal. Okay. So, try to help. I'm trying to help him out. I don't know if he'll ever listen to this, but
so he might. He just
he might. Yeah, he might be our only fan.
I'm gonna get an email.
Lost it. Lost him now.
Oh man, that's too funny. Oh wow. I'll say a question. I'm kind of taking it back to like when you were kind of first starting out. How fat or like how soon were you getting work, would you say, or like actual work where you're like, oh, this is like I'm doing something here, like I'm actually kind of in the at least bigger films or things like that.
Yeah, I think when I was pretty pumped, like the first time and this is as like the lowest of the low type of job, right? I was hired as a production assistant on American Idol. And at the time, I was like, this is awesome. I'm working on something people actually know what it is. That was like a big thing for me. Like I really, when people ask me what I do and what I work on, I wanted to be like, oh, yeah, I'm working on, this. And someone would know what that is. And because that's kind of the cool part about working in film and TV is you want people to be like, oh, yeah, I saw that. It was cool or whatever, because it's an art form. And it's as artists, you want to be able to show it off. But, when you're a production assistant on a TV reality, there's really no art in that at all, but it was at least exciting that I was working on it. And that was thank you, that was pretty early I was still in college, and because there was a few other like small commercials or stuff that I did. Like I did like a Purina dog chow thing as a production assistant, and like just kind of some super random stuff. But really it started, I think my coolest moment, it took years, honestly, because even that was like a couple of years before, while I was like looking for, maybe not a couple of years, but like it's maybe 18 when I did that. So when I really started pursuing and trying to find stuff when I was 17. So it took about a year before I started getting paid for some of that stuff. And because I did a bunch of freebie stuff, just helping on people's short films or helping on some small project or whatever, and like interning. I interned for a guy that ran his own little production company, just making little corporate videos and learning how to edit, which is kind of what started that, right? And but just all for free. And so it took about a year of that, and then to really start advancing into like good good positions and positions that were paying more than minimum wage. It probably took another couple years. And I tried for a long time to get into a lot of the bigger TV shows and movies are all unionized. Mm-hmm. And in order to really work on those projects, you have to be in the union. So that was like the goal that became in mind, is really try to fight to get into the union. And it took multiple years, because in Colorado, the union was closed. They wouldn't let people just join. You had to wait for either an invite or for the city to get busy enough to join. And what ended up happening was the movie Hateful Eight came in. The Quentin Tarantino movie Hateful Eight came to Colorado. And they originally were like, we're going to hire all local people, because Colorado at the time had a film incentive. It was really small, but there was a little bit of an incentive there to try to drive production to the state. And so Hateful Eight came in, and in order to get that incentive, they had to hire all locals. So our union had a big opening of, they're like, hey, you can join the union. We're open now because we have to be able to fill positions on this. So I was like, sweet. So I went down there, I signed up, I got my union card, got sworn in. And then we found that Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino was like, you know what? I want all my people from LA. I don't really care about the incentive. I'm just going to hire LA people and bring them all out here, because they were shooting in Telluride, which is like a ski town, which was far away from Denver. So basically, any crew guys from Denver would have had to been put in hotels anyways. So since he was going to put crew in hotels, he just wanted to use people that he knew and just bring in everybody to use. So they ended up like going from, initially they were telling our union that they needed 300 people to work on this film, to I think they only ended up hiring 2 guys from Denver.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
So it was a real bummer for a lot of people that signed up thinking that we were, myself included, thinking that we were going to go work on this movie. We're super excited, like, oh man, I'm going to work on a big Quentin Tarantino movie. But what that ended up doing was that opened up the opportunity where now I had an IATSE card, which is International Association of Stage and Theatric Employees, which is overall union that does all the film and motion picture, television, and theatrical stuff throughout the country. They all have different chapters. That was local 7 in Denver, and then my local here in Georgia is 479. So I had my union card in Colorado. And over time, I had that for a couple of years, and I got some little union commercials or whatever. But I'm like, I really want to work more on union projects. I want to work on those bigger movies. That's what I really want to pursue. And so when I moved to Georgia, I was able to transfer my union card instead of trying to go through this whole process of joining a union again and waiting for an opening or paying a bunch of money or going through these hoops of trying to join the union, which can be pretty difficult, particularly it's a little easier in Georgia, but some states are really, really hard. I was able to kind of fast track and just transfer in, which helped me be able to start working. When I got here, I was able to start working pretty much right away. So, yeah.
Yeah. How's the union? Because we've talked to a couple like people in the industry about unions. It's kind of like up and down, kind of like mixed signals, I guess, being in the union.
So I'll put kind of my personal taste. I'm not going to say a huge fan of the union, but I'm very thankful for the union. And there's pros and cons, right? The con is you have to pay money to join, you have quarterly dues. And it can, depending on the union, there can be some limitations of what you can and can't do, right? I'm part of 2 unions. I'm part of Local 479, which is the local Georgia union that is all of your normal crew members, from like grips, electrics, set decoration, greensmen. The majority of your positions are covered at that local. The other local I'm part of is Local 600, which is the camera union. So your camera operators, your camera assistants, and those type of guys. And that's more of a regional union opposed to the 479, which is just Georgia. So one of the biggest pros to being in the union is you kind of have you have a minimum based on your job, right? If I go work as a dolly grip, which I is a position that I do quite a bit. If I go work as a dolly grip, there's a minimum amount that they can that they have to pay me per hour. So it takes out a ton of that negotiating factor, because in this industry, if you get a call from a commercial, the first thing they're going to ask you is they're going to say, hey, what's your rate? If it's a non-union commercial, they're going to say, hey, what's your rate? And then you have to be like, well, what kind of commercial is it? Is it a Nike commercial, or is it in a mom and pop smoothie juice commercial or something? You know, like, because that's really going to depend on what my rate is. And, you know, so you'll quote them a rate, and then you'll go out and do the job, and they could work you 16 hours, 18 hours, you know, whatever. And they could decide to not give you lunch, and they can do all these things. And then, you know, you don't get any overtime because you said your rate was, you know, 500 for the day or whatever it was, right? And they're like, well, you said that was your rate. It doesn't matter if we did 20-hour shoot, you know, and it doesn't matter if you didn't get lunch, and it doesn't matter, you know, you had to drive 4 hours, you know, we're not paying for mileage or that. We're just, you know, that is what it is. And by the way, we're net 45. So in 45 days at that point, we'll decide to maybe send you a check and, you know, talk to you then. Right. So there was a lot of jobs that I did like that, particularly in Colorado, where there wasn't much union work. And particularly on reality shows were particularly bad for it, where you're working just long hours. They would come back and they would change your working, you know, if you had a little like deal memo or contract, they'd come back and be like, hey, you know what? You know, we decided we don't want to pay for overtime on this anymore. We went over budget, so we're not paying for overtime. And you're like, well, we already did overtime. Like, we can't say that now you're not paying for overtime. Like, right, yeah. I'm like, we can, because, you know, sorry. And then I'd have to keep like a book of, you know, what jobs I did and what the rate was, and then I'd call it, like, you know, because if they were net 30, I'd have to call them at net 30, you know, 30 days after the shoot, and call them and be like, hey guys, have you cut my check yet? Where's my check? Oh yeah, we're gonna mail it. Like, there was just nothing to hold anybody to any sort of agreement. Whereas if you're on a union show, you have a minimum rate that you have to work for. You can negotiate higher if you want. That's kind of on you, but there's a minimum that they have to pay you. They have to pay you if they decide not to, you know, they don't feed you lunch. They give you meal penalties. Like, every half hour that we're not given lunch after 6 hours, we make extra money because it's contracted. It's actually, you know, against the law. For one, you can't do that for workers' laws, but the union kind of keeps them honest on those things. And you get your paycheck every week. If you work on a Thursday of one week, Friday the next week, you get paid for that day. So it really just it took so much stress away, and it took a lot of, like, saved me a lot of time, because like I said, like, once or twice a month I would sit through and go through like my little notepad of all the jobs that I did, and I'd have to call everybody and ask for my money. Like, it was miserable. And, you know, not every experience was bad. There were some really great clients and great people to work for, but not all of them. And so honestly, like, for me, that's my number one best thing about being in the union, is that I know that if somebody decides not to pay me, they got a bunch of lawyers that they pay a bunch of money for. They're going to go after them and fix that problem for me. Like, all I have to do is call them and be like, hey, these guys haven't paid me. And they'll be like, oh, really?
They'll break their legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Got the hit squad out.
They're low-key mafia. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You've been waiting for this.
For high-key mafia, let's be honest.
Well, the ones that you don't like, the union you don't want to mess with is the Teamsters, because they're the oldest union. They're all your drivers, right? So they're the guys that literally drive, you know, all your shipping across the United States. But the Teamster union also is all of our drivers on the movie sets and on the TV sets. Is the same Teamster union, right? And those guys are hardcore, man. You don't mess with Teamsters. Like, you know, if you ever see like all the drivers show up on set, you know there's a problem. And the best thing to do is to go stand behind them.
Yes. I'm part of the Teamsters.
And I'm going to stand right over here.
You know, it's like, if there's ever like a movie that has payroll issues, the Teamsters will figure it out first. There was one day on this little Netflix movie. I can't remember if it was Netflix specific or just some small little like streaming movie. And I was just day playing on it. I wasn't a full timer on it. I was just day playing on it. And the day that I showed up, every day on set starts with a safety meeting with the AD. Will, like, you know, say kind of what's going on for the day and the plan and blah blah blah, if there's any special safety concerns. And I show up on set, and I have, you know, you look around, you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of Teamsters in here at the safety meeting. They're all just like angry face, and then you see the production manager's coming in. He's got this big like notepad. He's like, it's very like comedic. He's coming like fumbling. You can tell he's like really nervous.
Yeah, tripping over
You're
himself.
You're like, what's going on here? And he like nervously like steps up in front of everybody in this like circle of mad Teamsters and also mad crew members. And I'm just taking it all in. I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on, but this is awesome. And he's like, I understand that a lot of people's checks bounced. And we're like, oh snap.
What?
And, it ended up being an issue with like anybody that had Bank of America accounts, I guess. Like for whatever reason, the Bank of America like flagged them and like bounced the checks. Like the payroll
money.
It was like they didn't take the checks. And so anybody that had that account, so it was like 25% of the crew or 15% of whatever it was, their checks bounced. So this was on Monday after the Friday, right? And the Monday coming back. And so he's like explaining this. He's like, I'm going to write everybody a new check right now. I promise it will, go, if you need to go deposit it and come back. Like he was like so we knew the Teamsters were just going to they're about to take him out back of the trucks.
So this will not bounce. I promise.
So man. There's kind of that's like the union philosophy, right? Is that collective bargaining agreement, that power in numbers. Like you get enough people together and you say, hey, if we're working as this position, this is what we want to be paid. If we're working as this position, this is what we want to be paid. So it helps that. And every kind of organization like that has its ups and downs, but overall it allows, it helps keep us paid and really help keep us safe too, because there's been some really crazy incidences on projects out here. We had a really awful incident a number of years back where an assistant camera girl named Sarah Jones was killed on set.
Oh, wow.
She was hit by a train because the production, the producer and the director, they knew they weren't allowed to shoot on a train track.
Oh no.
And they told the crew that they could be there, that they had permission to be there when they didn't.
Wow.
So whole crew set up on this train track, and then here comes a train, and they're on a train bridge. There's only one way out.
Mm-hmm.
It's tragic, really super tragic what happened to Sarah. A lot of people know her personally out here. I never worked with her personally. It was before I moved out here, but that's a big thing for us now. So it's thankfully that incident wasn't worse, but it was still as bad as it, that's a horrible incident. So that's another big thing that the union really focuses on is creating a safe working environment for the crew and making and holding these productions to a standard that, you will not put crews in this situation. Because there's a lot of money involved in these productions, right? And if they can save money somewhere, they're going to. And that's a kind of the other big role of the union is to ensure that they're not taking advantage of people and they're not putting people in a bad situation. Because without that, there's really they'll try to get away and do what they want, and obviously it can create some horrible situations. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, the film industry is just like a bunch of people who are like, yo, let's get some money together and just make something cool and make more money. Right? And they don't give a fuck. They're the suits. Because I'm in the wind industry, so I understand. No matter how many rules and no matter how much money there is, they don't care. They don't know the boots on the ground.
Yeah,
they're up in their ivory towers and they're just like, make it work and cut fucking money.
Well, it's even worse when you have somebody that is someone that has a bunch of money themselves, and they're like, I have all this money, I'm going to make this movie and I'm going to do it how I want, and there's no one to check them. Because if that person's not a good individual that cares about, he doesn't just care about making money, if he actually cares about the people helping him create create a powerful story, because thankfully they're not all bad, but there's some ones that we have to really watch out for. And we as a community out here, again, we have a nice tight community, and we all talk. Like if there's some people that we know are unsafe, even at the individual crew member, like if you have a boss, if there's one kind of if there's like a key position that we know that person's not unsafe, we talk as crews, like, dude, watch out. If you go work with that guy, watch out, make sure he doesn't make you do this, and tell him, hey, that's not safe, I'm not going to do that. We really, it's cool. I mean, the film industry brings in so many different types of people and so many unique unique skills and unique personalities and unique types of people. Like there's really, like, you have every type of person on these shows. Really. And it really takes all those different types of people to make these things. I mean, it's like you need somebody that's really good at doing crazy makeup, and you need the random person that, she's dedicated her life to training pigs. Like, that stuff comes up and you'll be like, random, like, hey, cool, we have a pig trainer on set today. That's awesome. Like, you can't get shots of a trained pig if you don't have somebody that trains pigs for a living, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, it's like I said, it's almost every little thing, like, is going to be someone that does something, whether unusual or usual, but to get those shots, you need like I said, a pig trainer to do that. So that's interesting. Definitely crazy. But yeah, that's a crazy story to hear about. Sarah, that's intense. So yeah, definitely some good that comes out of the union for sure. So that's good. That's definitely good.
Yeah, and then I think, like, just most creatives, right, are psychopaths. Like, let's be honest. Like, especially if you want to be in film, right?
You have to be in a way, right? Because
everyone in film, it's either you want crazy. You want to create something really cool that everyone likes, or you want to be in the limelight, or you want to be the director, which is just like a pseudo for a king of a production, right? So everyone's just a little bit on the edge.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
or maybe off the edge falling.
You look at a lot of these directors that create these stories, and I mean, they just are have to be like totally in it. They just think it. They breathe their story. They imagine it all day. It's just so much information churning in their head, and then they come in. They have to communicate to all of us on set so we can make that happen, right? We have to make that vision come to life. And dude, again, I don't know how much I can say, but one of the most impressive things I've seen is the director on Jungle Cruise. His name is Jarma. That guy, we had both units running, and we were offset schedules. So we'd be, first unit would be shooting during the day, and on second unit we'd be shooting at night, or vice versa. And he would go and he'd work all day directing first unit, and for like a couple weeks he did this. He'd go and work and direct first unit, and he'd even operate one of the cameras, because the director, he can kind of do what he wants. So if he wants to operate a camera, you let him operate a camera. So you go and you operate the camera and you work on first unit, and then he'd come at night and he'd work all night with us on second unit and operate the camera and direct all night. And he did this for a couple weeks. And we're like, this guy's surviving on like 1 hour of sleep and Red Bulls. Like,
fumes at
maybe
this
a
point.
little bit of cocaine.
And he was still one of the nicest guys. Like, you would think someone that sleep deprived and that caffeinated would just be flying off the rails and yelling at people.
Right. Easily
but he was
agitated.
just like, he was like super nice and super in it, and just like knew what he wanted. And if you didn't, like, I was messing up a couple takes on something because I was swinging a crane arm. I had to get this really intricate shot working with this stunt guy and all this stuff. And I was on take 9. It wasn't all my fault, but there was like, a couple of early takes were my fault. And then a couple of later takes were the stunt guy's fault. And finally the director got really mad, and he's like, what? Why are we doing so many takes? Like, he's like looking at me. He's like looking up at me. I'm up on the crane. He's like, you need to nail this. You need to get this. And then you look over at the stunt guy. You need to nail your marks. And like, you guys just need to get this. We just need to get this and move on. And I'm like, well, he got a little upset there, but A, totally justified, and B, it could have been a lot worse because I know that guy hasn't slept in a couple of days.
Right, yeah, it could have been really bad. Oh man.
But it was awesome. So that was a super cool experience. So I cannot wait for that movie to come out, and I'm so sick of COVID. I need theaters to open so we can all go see that movie.
Oh yeah, I mean they are open. I mean out here.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I know that's still been kind of random. Like some places still have it closed. They're open out here too. There's just nothing to.
Yeah, nothing's good out.
Yeah, there's nothing good out because they're all waiting. They're all waiting till want to go back.
I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think of HBO Max?
I'm kind of digging it actually. I like the fact, like I for me, I love going, like the whole thing about going to the movie theater is like you're in this dark room and you have this huge screen and you have nothing else to focus on except like this movie you're in that world, right? So when you're like sitting on the couch or laying in bed watching it on a small screen, it's just not nearly the same. But it's like it'll do for now.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, especially with just Mortal Kombat and the King Kong. I mean, they'll do. I mean, just put them on Max. That's fine.
Dude, so I haven't seen Mortal Kombat yet. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. But I saw King Kong. This is a personal quick rant. That movie would have made an amazing dubstep music video. But from like a movie standpoint, I was like, oh, so stupid. It was not good movie.
What did we give it? Because we did a review on it with our good friend Michael. But I think I gave it like a 6.5.
Oh, I was gonna give it a 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. So give it the truth. Yeah, we went pretty average on it. Oh,
yeah.
You guys, I mean, come on, like you gotta love like that fight in Hong Kong was like that was super cool, and the spaceshipy things with the cool ion trails, those were really cool looking. But overall, I was like, I'm like, what's going on in this movie?
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt
it has an axe, like
yeah. The whole thing with the actors and stuff, like I kind of put it through the ringer. I mean, it definitely wasn't my favorite. It's definitely not a Peter Jackson movie. But
yeah, that was the Jack Black King Kong.
Yeah,
I love it.
My thing was just going into if I'm gonna watch a movie called Godzilla versus Kong, that's what I'm going to see, not like some story, them fight like halfway through the movie they finally meet. I was like, all right, come on, I need some more fighting. But no, yeah, definitely. So it was kind of like I said, it was entertaining to a point, I guess, but I just needed some more action, I think,
I liked the aircraft carrier, like when they were like battling.
Oh, hell yeah!
The plane, that was pretty
cool.
But like that's what I say. Like you could cut the best shots of that and make like a badass dubstep music video, and then just be like it'd be 10 out of 10.
Right. Yeah. So I needed more action and some dubstep. I would have been totally in it.
But that's what we all need more of in our life.
Right. Dubstep in action.
Exactly. But hey, man, thanks for like coming on.
Yes,
You're super interesting. And I think me and Kendall are just extremely jealous and in awe of that you're in the industry that me and him both fucking love. Like I've always wanted to go to film school, never did. I love film, and I think it's awesome how passionate you are, and just the whole thing with Scuba too is just sick. But yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. It's really my pleasure. It's something I love. I love this industry. I love what I do. I like talking about it. I'm a bit of a talker, if you haven't noticed, so I can get off on tangents. But
no, it's perfect. Yeah,
let's go. Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Like, anytime. Hit me up. I'm happy to trash talk and/or positive talk, review some movies too.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, I have to bring you back for some more. But yeah, that was perfect. Yeah, I didn't even realize the time, like how Like this conversation flew by, so those are always awesome. So definitely appreciate that. And like I said, it's like a thing that, I guess it's because we all love it, and and actually hearing from someone in the business, it's like just literally I'm just sitting there listening the whole time. I was like, man,
Let's go.
This is great.
Just visualizing like, why can't it be me?
Well, go out there, build up that YouTube channel, man. Come on.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
it's
what we're
time,
trying to
yeah.
do. We're on like episode 29. I think you're the 29th.
Oh, right on.
28.
28?
Right? 28 or 29. Yeah, I always have to look back. But
Well, I didn't realize I was on video. I would have repped the Angry Orchard a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, is that your sponsor? Well, thank you,
Yeah, no.
Angry Orchard, for sponsoring this podcast.
I think Dr. Pepper is going to be jealous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, we forgot to bring that up. Because, dude, that's how I found you, on an influencer in the wild, which we
Oh, is
brought
that
up
really?
multiple times on Instagram. On our podcast, because we love that. I love that Instagram. But that's where we found you, because dude, I guess you could explain it to Kendall.
Yeah, I was internet famous for a day. It was awesome.
He went viral.
I was
Viral.
I was failing at doing a boomerang. So I ended up just taking a picture instead, or like saving a picture instead. But like I'm like doing like this ridiculous like yeah kind of pose with the Dr. Pepper. And the best boy, who is like my supervisor, he was on the grip truck and he was filming me do it. And as soon as I stop, he literally looks up to me. He's like just dying laughing. He's like, dude, I'm going to submit this to influencers in the wild. And I had no idea what this was.
Yeah.
And I'm just laughing like, all right. And I'm on set. And I'm literally like, I'm doing this camera move. And I'm hearing while we're walkies, I'm hearing on our walkie, they're like, oh my gosh, you made it on influencers in the wild. You already have like, 10,000 views or whatever.
Oh, that is awesome.
The thing got up to like a million, like a million and a half.
Hell yeah.
Something ridiculous like that. And I get,
Wow.
and the funniest part with that was like seeing people's guess of like who I was, because nobody knows who I am. It's not like I'm like I'm a nobody. And so people are like, oh, was it this guy? Was this guy, like posting all these random like pseudo influencer accounts? And that was pretty entertaining. But like I had family members see that, and I had other like crew people see it, because I also ended up on a fun Instagram Facebook page called movie set memes.
Okay.
So someone like put a movie set meme of me on there, like, whose base camp PA is this? Which is like and it's pretty funny. I'm like, I'm not a base camp PA, I'm a dolly grip.
I'm a dolly grip. Get it right. Oh
And,
man, I'm about to go on influencers in the wild and have to watch this now. That's funny. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's how I found Nate.
Dr. Pepper found the best part of it. Dr. Pepper found it and put me on their page.
Oh really? Okay.
Really? They're like, can we put this on there? I'm like, absolutely. I should have held out.
Viral.
Yeah, I should have held out and say
I
like a
held out.
sponsorship or something.
Yeah, sponsor me, bitch.
Or even like free Dr. Pepper the rest of your life or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something.
I'll be your spokesperson. Fuck the film industry.
Right.
They liked my Instagram page, so that was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Worth
Official
it.
worth it. But all right, Nate. We'll let you go, man. Thank you again. We totally appreciate you coming on. Definitely had a blast with you. So definitely, again, like I said, we appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. It's
Yeah.
been awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks,
problem.
bro.
All right,
Thanks
Nate.
for coming on, man.
Can I give an Instagram shout out?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh yeah,
tell
dude.
us
Yeah, so give
your
a shout
stuff.
out or anything
Yeah.
you're working on. Or...
I like, obviously I can only post stuff as stuff comes out or whatever, but I also, I'm a cinematographer as well in Atlanta, and camera person and camera support, kind of whatever is needed. But you can follow a lot of cool stuff that I post on. Camera Speeds is my Instagram handle. So just at Camera Speeds, and you will find me there. And it's kind of the best way to follow that and check out some other random stuff, film behind the scenes stuff, and random pictures I take with Dr. Pepper cans.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank
Oh,
you, Dr.
yeah.
Pepper and Angry Orchards for sponsoring.
Yeah, thank
That's
you
fun.
guys. It was a blast, so I appreciate it. Look forward to
Yeah,
No
it.
problem. Yeah, pleasure meeting you as well, Nate. Yeah, and we'll tag you in the in our Instagram posts and everything too. So show where people can follow you at as well.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
no
you.
problem. All right, Nate.
Later.
Later.
Later.